Hello and welcome to Ketter Farms. We're here with a tutorial video on the Minnesota Millennial Farmer map by Mapper's Paradise. And today I'm going to be showing you how to fix the 3 most commonly reported issues with the current version that's on the ModHub. The biggest of which is the fact that the snow won't melt even if we were to advance to the middle of summer. A little bit of an annoying issue, making it pretty hard to do work in the fields if you've got seasons on. It's a little sporadic, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of people are having issues with it, and it's a really easy fix. So we're going to take a look at that. And then the other fix that we're going to look at, which is also a really easy fix, is the fact that the elevator up in town doesn't show up on the PDA here. If we look up here, I think it's called the Lowry CHS. This should show up on the map as a sell point. It doesn't. I'll show you how to fix that. And then lastly, we're going to take a look at the issue with Field 5 and the fact that if you go anywhere in this bottom corner of the map, you pretty much get stuck under some invisible water. And so we'll take a look at that fix. It's a little bit more complicated. That one's actually going to require us to go into Giants Editor and make a quick change, but it's not that hard. And if you really want to be able to work Field 5 until the map gets fixed, I'll show you how to do it. So we're back out here in Windows, and I'm in the mod folder for my tutorials here. And you'll see that I have just the bare bones basic mods that I need to do testing. I've got the map, seasons because we're testing a seasons issue, and easy dev controls and timescale so that I can do a few things in the game more easily to speed up testing. It's always a good idea if you're making mod changes to reduce the mods that you have in your folder down to a bare minimum set so you know that you don't have any conflicts or anything like that. So for the first change to fix the issue with snow, we're going to need to make some changes to the actual map files. And in fact, we'll need to make changes to the map files for all 3 of these things. So we're going to go ahead and right click on this and do extract all. And it's going to pop up with a window that looks something like this if you're using Windows 10. And hit extract. And it's going to take all of the files in that zip file and put them into a folder here named the same thing. And we're going to be able to come in and edit this. And if you're playing single player, you can actually run the game out of the unzipped version of the map, which is really useful for testing. And since we're going to go in and do multiple changes, that's what we're going to do here. So when it finished unzipping, it pops open with a new window that has the files that we just unzipped in that folder. I'm going to come back to this first window real quick, and I'm going to delete this .zip file, just to make sure that we don't accidentally load the wrong version of the map when the game is loading or forget to update it later on. And so now that we've got all of our files unzipped, to update the issue that's breaking snow not melting is really straightforward. We're going to open up this modmap.lua file. And so if we double click on that, it's going to open in my default editor for Lua and XML type files, which is Notepad++. This is a really great text editor, does all of the context highlighting, syntax highlighting for various programming languages, and it's really easy to use. You don't have to use this program. You can just use the normal Windows Notepad application that comes as part of Windows. Because the change we're going to make is really straightforward. And so if we look here on line 11, there's this line that's modifying the terrain detail height type num channels. And we're just going to comment that line out by putting a double dash in front of it. Once we've got it commented out, we can hit save, close that file, and if we go back into the game, snow's going to melt properly when we advance time. I've tested this once with a map that I'd already played on that had snow and the snow disappeared. Anytime I do things like this, I tend to like to start a new save game, but I think this is going to be safe if you continue on your existing save game after making this change. I haven't done a lot of robust testing on it, and I'm not a super experienced modder, so use at your own risk, but I think this is a safe change to make with an existing save game. So if we were done there and that's the only change we wanted to make, we would want to zip up the contents inside the folder. We'd zip all of this back up, rename it back to this, and put it back in here as a zip file and get rid of our folder so that we're using a normal zipped mod. I'm going to have a section at the end of this video to walk through those steps if you think you need help with that step, but we're going to leave this unzipped for the moment because we're going to now jump into the second fix that we talked about, which is how to add the Lowry CHS to the PDA so that you can see sell prices. And so inside of our mod folder, we're going to go to placeables, and then there is a selling station rail placeable, which is the Lowry CHS sell point. And we're going to come in here and go to this selling station rail XML file. And in here, there's an appears on PDA attribute property that we just need to set to true. Save this file. And if we close back out of this, that's all you need to do to get the Lowry CHS to show up on your PDA. The last change that we're going to make is to fix the issue with the water planes in field 5, where you get the message that you're underwater or you're actually underwater and you lose your vehicles in the corner of the field there. And so inside of the mod folder here, if you go to the maps directory, we're going to actually open up this map US i3D file in the Giants editor. And so when you double click on that, you're going to get a window that pops up like this. If you have multiple versions installed like I do, I'm using 8.2. And if you give it just a second, it should open up in a window that looks something like this. I've got different resolutions on my monitors, so I'm just going to drag this over here and resize it so that we can see it. Now, the issue here is that the water on this map, the default level of water on this map is set to the height of this lake in the middle of the map here. And so this height is higher than, if I fly out here, apologies that this is a little bit choppy. Giants editor is not the most performant sometimes. And so if we fly out here to field 5, and I'm just going to zoom up here so that you can see the whole of the map a little bit better. And if I turn on, wireframe is not helping me here. Anyway, you can, see or guess or take my word for it that the height of the lake here is higher than the height of the ground. In fact, if I stand in this low spot here, you can see I'm looking uphill to this area. And so because this is lower than the height of that water, and that water is set as the main water plane for the map, anything that falls below that gets your driving into water message. And so my solution for this is a little bit of a hack, I guess I'll say, in that we're going to create a new water plane, and we're going to just put it back here in the corner and drop it below the field. And that's going to make it so that we can use the field. But the side effect is going to be if we drive into this water, it's not really going to stop us or give us that warning. We're going to be able to just drive down into the bottom of the lake like, it's not even there. So it's kind of a trade-off. I don't find myself driving into the middle of water very often. I'd rather have another big field that's usable and playable on the map. So in order to do this, we're going to need to create a water plane. And for me, the easiest way to do this is to just copy and paste one of the existing water planes that's there. And so we're going to expand this nature group, and we're going to scroll down here a ways until we find a section that has water planes. And it's kind of in the middle here towards the bottom. And so if you look at the bottom of this list and then just go up a little bit from there, you're going to see a group that says water planes. And if we expand these water planes, you're going to see a whole bunch of river water planes. In fact, if I turn the camera here, you can see all the water planes that are defined for the river and the lakes on the map. And actually, if I scroll down this list, you'll see that I believe it's this one is set up as, where'd it go? One of these. This one here for the lake is set up as the main water plane. And so anything that's lower than this is going to give you a message about going into the water. I actually think this might have had something to do with why the trailers were floating on the main farm at one point in the previous version of the map, but I'm not sure. So what we need to do is I'm going to make a new water plane and put it over here and lower it down below the ground to make sure that it's low enough to not cause us problems. But I don't want this huge lake water plane. So I'm just going to grab a different smaller river water plane, and I'm just looking for one that's, I was looking for one that wasn't too far away. I'm just going to grab this first one, this next one up. It should be a small enough piece, and I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to hit copy, and then I'm going to scroll up to the top of this group, highlight this, and paste this new river water plane in. And if I look here, I now have a new one below that transform group. It's still way over there, but that's not a big deal. I can just grab onto this blue arrow and pull it towards me. And grab this red arrow. I'm going to pull it over here. And we're just going to keep moving it over to this part of the field. I'm going to zoom over here so that I can see what's going on. And I'm just going to keep using these arrows to pull it over here. And I'm going to go under the ground here so I can see it. You can see that it's below the ground, the water plane that we're moving. So I'm going to just pull this up here so that I can actually see it. I'm going to zoom back up here and get above it. And this is just going to make it easier for me to position and move around a little bit. And you can see right here where now I can see that I'm in the ground. So I'm still above a little bit here. I'm going to pull it this way, see that I'm above quite a bit. And so I'm just going to drop this down until you don't see the green anymore. And I'm just going to move it around in this area. Make sure that it's in a good spot. I don't see any water coming through. And so I'm going to go back up to this previous lake water plane and see what this attribute was called. It was called is main water. And so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add a new attribute called is main water. Add. And then check this box to set it to true. And then I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to get rid of this one. I don't want that one to be the main water plane anymore. I want this one to be the main water plane now. And so once I've done that, I can just save the map. And this will take just a moment to export the map back out to the files in the directory. And then I should be able to go into the game and see that this is working correctly. So once it says ready, you can safely close out of this window. And that should be all you need to do to fix the water plane issue on this map. This is kind of a little bit of a hack. I'm not sure this is how I would want to fix it in general. I'd probably just want to raise the land up so that it doesn't go below the water level. But this is the quick and easy way to get this map working again. So before we jump back in the game, I'm going to go ahead and zip this map back up because we're done making changes to it. And so if I come back out to the folder that contains all of the map files, and you know that you're in the root folder when you see your mod description XML file and that mod map Lua file, I'm going to push Control A to highlight all of these files, and then I'm going to right click, send to compressed zip folder. And that's going to put all of those files back into a zip file. And if we wait just a moment here, because it is quite a few files, Once it's done, it'll probably have some random name based on a file that's in the folder itself, like mine does, where it's modmap.zip. What I'm going to do is come up here and grab this original file name, which is the name of the folder that it's in. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to rename the zip file to be what it was called originally. This way you're not going to have any problems with your saved game. And then you can just highlight this one and drag it back up here to the tutorial mods folder. And now I've got my zip file here again. I can go ahead and delete this folder that we were working in. So now I just have my zipped up mods once again. So with that, let's go jump into a new game and see if all of these things worked. And as it's done loading, we're going to jump in. And as usual, seasons doesn't kick in until the first minute has ticked by in the game. And so 8:31, we now have snow everywhere, which is totally awesome. I'm going to jump into the seasons menu, and I run on 6-day seasons just so I don't have to fast forward through as many days. 3-day seasons does some weird things with the weather sometimes, so I don't tend to run on 3-day seasons anymore. And so just for testing purposes, we're going to do that, and I'm going to start advancing the clock here. And while that's moving into the next day, I'm going to show you that the Lowry CHS now shows up as a sell point on the PDA, which is totally awesome. And if we jump into our handy dandy truck here, hopefully the snow is going to start melting as it warms up here, and we'll be able to make our way over to field 5. I'm just going to start plowing our way through this, and anytime you're fast forwarding in seasons, it's always a good idea to stop fast forwarding each day to give the game a chance to synchronize. Otherwise, really weird things happen. And so you can see I'm on the second day. Snow is still behaving. It's being bumpy when I drive over it, which is good. So the clock finally caught up with us. All the fields got updated, and the snow is melted because the rain started. And we're driving through field 5 now. And if we get back here into the corner, I believe all of our problems are down in this little dip over here. We should be perfectly good to go here. And so as you can see, I'm not getting any warnings about, oh, I get a little bit of a warning. So I probably didn't quite drop that water plane down high enough or far enough, but I didn't actually get stuck or kicked out of my vehicle. So when you're doing that, you would just want to try and drag that down just a little bit lower than I did most likely. But I'm going to drive over to the lake here real quick and show you the unfortunate side effect of how we've solved that problem, which is now the water over here in the lake isn't registered as something that's going to stop me. You can only have one main water plane on a map, I believe. I haven't actually tested that, but that's what I've read. And so, and I've also messed this up where it's currently, oh, it's frozen. Seasons is working. So the water freezes on this map with seasons. And so because the ground temperature is below freezing, the lake is frozen right now. So let's just go ahead and fast forward one more day. And ideally the lake should thaw out, and I can demonstrate how that's working. Or not working, as the case may be. So here we go. We're now into the next day. The water or ground temperature is 41 degrees. Let me keep going until it's daylight here. And you can see that the water is back. It's no longer frozen. And if we drive into said water, I'm not getting the typical water messages. In fact, the water is nothing. I can just drive under it until I get to the low point that it is over on that other water plane, right? And so normally, if the water plane was set to this lake, I would have got a message like that somewhere up here. So that's the unintended side effect of how we've solved the problem. I'm not too worried about it. I don't tend to drive in the water that often, and honestly, if I did, having a little bit more buffer so that I could get out of it before I got a vehicle stuck like that is probably a good thing for my playstyle. So with that, these were the biggest kind of game-breaking or challenging bugs that everybody has reported on the channel. So I thought I'd create a quick video to help you out and keep you playing on this map until Mapper's Paradise gets a chance to push an updated version out to the Giants ModHub. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. Let me know in the comments if you're having any other issues that you'd like me to try and dive into and sort out. That's all for today. Kedrick, out.